Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror TV series season review video as part of my 2 month series here, where I'm taking a look at the entire Tales from the Crypt TV series from the 90s. The first two seasons have been watched and reviewed. They're up on my channel if you want to check those out. But today we're going to take a look at season three of Tales from the Crypt from 1991. Um, so yeah, just like the other seasons, I'll be giving you my top five or favorite episodes and talking a bit about them. And then I'll give you my bottom three episodes, or the ones that didn't work for me, and talk a little bit about them and just kind of the season overall. Um, Season three does have some nice special features once again. Um, you have a reunion panel discussion. Um, you have some interviews based on the panel discussion, and then you have a Crypt Jam music video, which was interesting to watch with the Crypt Keeper part of it. So yeah, some nice special features there. But other than that, season three is a good season. Just like the first two have been up to this point, they're three for three in my opinion. There's only one episode out of 14 that I gave less than a 3 out of 5 to, which I'll get in here, but get to here shortly. But yeah, otherwise every episode's at least good to great, in my opinion. So let's just go ahead and get into it, starting with the three that I didn't like, or the bottom three, as it were. So number three, my third least favorite episode from season three of Tales from the Crypt is going to be the first episode from season three, which is entitled "Love to Death." That aired on June 15th, 1991, directed by Tom Mankiewicz and written by Joe Minion. There's nothing really wrong with this episode. My problem is more with the fact that it's been done to death in all of these horror and these anthology TV series throughout the years. It's basically about, you have this aspiring screenwriter, Edward Foster, played by Andrew McCarthy, who has a crush on his neighbor, aspiring actress Miranda Singer, played by Mariel Hemingway. And after failing to get her to notice him, Edward finally gains her affection through a potion given to him by a woman-hating landlord, David Hemmings. Eventually, Edward begins to regret his choice after Miranda's newfound obsession with him becomes too much for him to handle. So it's kind of the old. I mean, the Twilight Zone had one of these episodes. I believe Tales from the Dark Side did. It seems like all of these anthology, they always go for the love potion episode. And again, this episode's fine. Andrew McCarthy and Mariel Hemingway both do a good job, and Mariel Hemingway looks pretty good in this episode, I'll just say. Um, I gave it a 3 out of 5. Like I said, it's fine, but I had to have my list go some way. Um, it's just that I've seen it before. It's always the same thing. You have the guy that's obsessed with the girl, and she doesn't take any notice of him, and then he runs across the mysterious stranger who offers this love potion, and ends up going the other way, where he gets her affection, but more than he wants, where she won't leave him alone, literally till death. That's as much as I'll say about the episode. But yeah, it was really more the premise that we've seen before. That's why it's my third least favorite from the season. But like I said, as far as the episode goes itself, there's nothing really terrible about it. Um, my second least favorite, I should say, episode from season three is entitled Dead Weight. This was directed by Toby Hooper and written by Gilbert Adler. It aired on July 3rd, 1991. Basically, it's about a thug with naturally red hair who offers to work for this plantation owner on a tropical island gripped in civil war. He teams up with Duvall's mistress, Catherine, in order to steal Duvall's prized possession, a highly valuable black pearl. Red later double crosses Catherine, only to be double crossed himself by a mysterious priestess. This has James Remar and John Rhys Davies, as well as Whoopi Goldberg in this episode. And I don't know. It was okay. It's just kind of forgettable for me in comparison to the other episodes of the season. Um, it's a little creepy towards the end, I guess, but I kind of saw the twist coming, so that really didn't do it any favors. And like I said, it's just kind of an episode with a lot of dialogue, and not much really happens till the last 5 or 10 minutes of the episode. So again, not terrible. I gave it a 3 out of 5, just like my third least favorite of the season. But of all of them from the season, it's the one that stands out as not being one of my favorites. So that's why it's my second least favorite of the season. Um, and then my least favorite from season 3 is going to be The Reluctant Vampire, directed by Elliot Silverstein and written by Terry Black, that aired on July 10th, 1991. This has Malcolm McDowell in it as a vampire with a conscience. That's basically the gist of the episodes, where um, it kind of goes against the traditional. Instead of satiating his need for blood by working as a night watchman as a blood bank. Um, no, that doesn't make any sense. Basically, he works at this blood bank, so he doesn't go after people and try to drink their blood like a traditional vampire does. He works at this blood bank, and he overindulges on the blood supply, and therefore the owner of this company realizes his business is being sucked dry and threatens to lay off employees to avoid bankruptcy. By the way, the owner's played by George Wendt, Norm from Cheers. Um, Seeing that he must return to his old ways in order uh, rep, to replete his embezzlement, Donald works to try to solve the quandary of attacking dangerous criminals, all while struggling to romantic advances from the blood bank secretary, an investigative police detective, and a vampire hunter, Rupert Van Helsing, played by Michael Berryman. It's got some interesting. I mean, you got a pretty good cast in it, obviously, with Malcolm McDowell, George Wendt, and Michael Berryman. But the episode itself just doesn't work for me. It's played up as a comedy, and as you've known, if you've watched my reviews for not just this series but other ones, the horror anthology comedy episodes don't quite hit me quite as much. They don't quite do as much for me as the more serious, scary ones do. This one was just kind of forgettable. Again, it's meant to be played up humorously. It's not the worst thing that I've ever seen, but for this season, it was my least favorite episode, The Reluctant Vampire. So, okay, on to bigger and better things now for season 3. Now I'm going to give you my top 5 favorite episodes from season 3, including an honorable mention. And my honorable mention is going to be episode 11 from the season, entitled Split Second. This aired on August 7th, 1991. It was directed by Russell Mulkey and written by Richard Christian Matheson. This is one about a beautiful but loose barmaid who marries this guy with a temper. He's a wealthy manager of a lumber camp who provides her a comfortable lifestyle, but she gets bored, basically hits on one of his workers. They have a fling. He walks in on it. Yeah, you can probably kind of guess where it goes from there. The thing I like about this episode is, first of all, it's very gory, very good practical effects. There's a character or characters that end up getting their comeuppance in the end, which was enjoyable. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just Michelle Johnson, who plays Liz Kelly, looks amazing in the episode. That really helps it. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Um, Again, it might be a little bit predictable, but it's still really fun. And like I said, those practical gore effects were the best thing about the episode. So it didn't quite make my top 5, but I do want to give it its mention as an honorable mention here. Um, so my fifth favorite episode from season 3 is going to be the last episode, episode 14, that aired on August 28th, 1991, directed by Robert Zemeckis and written by Jim Thomas and John Thomas and Gilbert Adler and A.L. Katz. A lot of writers on this one. And this is entitled Yellow. Now, this episode is interesting because it actually aired longer than a typical Tales from the Crypt episode. Um, it actually was, it's the only episode in the entire series to run longer than 30 minutes, and it's also the first episode featured that was produced as part of the failed Two Fisted Tales spinoff, which would air in 1992 and didn't go very far, didn't last very long. But this definitely feels a little different than your traditional Tales from the Crypt episode, but it's still a very good episode with a great twist. Basically, it takes place during World War I. You have great performances in this, from Lance Hendrickson to Kirk Douglas to Dan Aykroyd. as well as Kirk Douglas's real life son, Eric Douglas. The cast is phenomenal. That's the best thing about this episode. Also, the twist at the end. But basically, you have this general played by Kirk Douglas who has a son who's a lieutenant that's cowardly, though. And he requests a discharge from the army. He kind of lets his platoon down, his men that he leads. He's more concerned about his own health and safety than he is about looking out for the soldiers, the other soldiers, and doing the thing that he swore to do in the army. Um, so his dad agrees to a discharge, but he has to do one last thing first. And he ends up getting troops killed again because he doesn't follow through, and his cowardice really lets him down. Um, One of the dying Sergeant Ripper, played by Lance Henderson, exposes Martin's actions and labels him as yellow. And therefore, Martin is arrested, court-martialed, and sentenced to death by firing squad. That's about as much as I want to say, but it's a very good episode in terms of writing, in terms of acting, in terms of the twist. It does have some gore in it as well. It has a very theatrical kind of feel to it, this episode. That's kind of what makes it different from the other Tales from the Crypt episode. Not just because it's longer, but it just sort of has that theatrical feel to it. But yeah, it's a very good episode, and I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it has a very satisfying twist. Especially between the general and his son. So yeah, definitely check out Yellow, episode 14 from season 3, the last episode of season 3. That's my 5th favorite episode from the season. My 4th favorite episode is an early one from the season entitled The Trap. This was the 3rd episode of the season, which was actually directed by Michael J. Fox, written by Scott Alexander, and it aired on June 15th, 1991. This is about Lou Paloma, an obnoxious, egotistical, mean-spirited deadbeat who cannot hold down a job, is horribly in debt, and both unfaithful and abusive to his wife, played by Terry Garr. He ropes her and his brother into a plan to fake his own death, collect life insurance money, and escape to a new life in Rio de Janeiro. Unfortunately for him, the joke is on him at the end of the day. And I just really love the way that the twist in this episode, how this idea that Lou has, and Lou's not a very likable character, so you're definitely not rooting for him. You're basically rooting for everything that he gets at the end of this episode. But unbeknownst to him, his plan backfires on him. And I just love the way that the twist is thrown back at him, how his own plan is basically used against him. And you get a cameo by both Michael J. Fox and James Tolkien, who are both in the Back to the Future movies, of course. James Tolkien playing the bald principal and the sheriff in the 3rd movie. He plays a policeman investigating a murder scene. Michael J. Fox plays the prosecutor. So it was great to see them in there. Yeah, this is all about the twist and the characters. The characters are not the most likable characters, especially Lou, but they're just well written, and it's a well directed episode. Michael J. Fox has a little bit of talent, a little bit of directing talent, I would say. But I just love the twist. So that's why The Trap is my 4th favorite episode from season 3. Moving on to my 3rd favorite episode from season 3. This one is going to be, I have to find it here. Top Billing. This episode surprised me the most. This was episode number 5 for season 3 that aired on June 26, 1991. Was directed by Tom Holland and written by Miles Berkowitz. And this episode, again, has some great, well-known actors in it. John Lovitz and John Astin, who was the original Addams Family father. What's his name? Gomez, of course, from the TV series in the 60s. But this one's about Barry Bly, a struggling actor with a dull and drab appearance, who's fired by his agent, dumped by his girlfriend, and evicted from his apartment. Desperate for work, he attempts to receive the lead role in a strange production of Hamlet, but is turned down by a director who insists on giving the part to his handsome rival, Winston Robbins. In a rage, Barry kills Winston to get the part, only to discover that he's actually to, in a literal sense, play the part of the long-deceased Yorick. This, again, is all about the twist, as well as great performances by John Lovitz and John Astin. But the twist in this episode, I didn't see coming a mile away. I absolutely loved the last 5 to 10 minutes of this episode. It's very gory. Once again, great practical effects. Very creepy as well. Um, and it just, like I said, the twist blew me away. It was the episode that surprised me the most because this was one as the episode started. I was thinking, this will be around a 3.5 or a 3 out of 5, and it ended up being a 4 out of 5 because I just absolutely loved the twist. It's just a great premise, a great idea, creepy and bloody. So yeah, um, that's why Top Billing is my third favorite episode from season 3. My second favorite episode from season 3 is entitled Ease'll Kill Ya, which was directed by John Harrison, written by Larry Wilson, and aired on July 17th, 1991. This is the one that has Tim Roth in it, who plays Jack Craig, an artist and a recovering alcoholic with a temper who can't seem to sell any of his work. He ends up accidentally killing his neighbor, finds inspiration. He photographs the corpse, paints the scene, and sells the painting to Malcolm Mayflower, played by William Atherton, a collector of morbid artwork who promises to pay him a large sum of money for similar paintings. This leads Jack down a dark and dangerous path. Again, Tim Roth just owns this episode. You can't take your eyes off of him. He just has that presence, that screen presence, and everything that he's in. He's phenomenal in this episode, and the episode itself is just very well written. Again, with a great twist, great character study. It's got some gore in it. Again, great with the practical effects as this series is. I love the Ease'll Kill Ya. Yeah, it has a great, just a very fun and interesting and easy to watch episode. So that's my second favorite from season 2 of, or from season 3, my second favorite episode. But of course, see, my favorite episode, my number one episode for season 3 was really only going to be one thing all along, and that's an episode entitled. It's the 10th episode of the season that aired on July 31st, 1991, directed and written by Manny Cotto. It has Steven Weber in it, and this is entitled Morning Mess. Now, before I get into what this episode was about, this is one of those episodes, again, like some of the others I mentioned in earlier seasons, that I grew up remembering. In fact, when I thought of Tales from the Crypt, even when I bought the box set, even before I watched any of the episodes, this is the first episode that I thought of because it made such an impact on me back when I saw it in the mid to late 90s on late night TV. And of course, Steven Weber was in one of my favorite sitcoms, Wings, that aired on NBC in the 90s. He plays Dale Sweeney, a sleazy, down on his luck news writer who's currently investigating several bizarre murders of the homeless. Sweeney soon discovers that the murders may be related to the Grateful Homeless Outcasts, an unwanted layaway society, or ghouls, a mysterious organization whose charitable facade hides a horrific secret. And this episode has it all, man. It scared the hell out of me when I grew up, and it still kind of creeps me out now when I watch it, especially the last 10 minutes or so. But Steven Weber does a phenomenal job in this episode. Again, it has a great twist that maybe you can see coming a little bit. You know, there's some shenanigans going on, but it has great gore in it. Yeah, between the gore and the creepiness of this episode, it's just a classic. It feels very classic Tales from the Crypt comic book. I mean, they all are from the comic book, but this episode, between having that experience with it like 20, 25 years ago, of seeing it and remembering it, and scaring me, it's just very well done. Great characters once again, great gore. Morning Mess. That's the episode to really check out if there's one to check out from season 3 of Tales from the Crypt. So yeah, those are my top 3, or those are my bottom 3 least favorite episodes, and my top 5 favorite episodes from season 3 of Tales from the Crypt. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below, and make sure to comment down below as well if you have any thoughts on season 3 of Tales from the Crypt, your favorite or least favorite episode from season 3. Be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series or any of my great horror content beyond this series that's coming out. So I hope you enjoyed this review video. We are on to season 4, which I'm hoping to have that done and reviewed by around April 1st, I would say, the end of March, beginning of April. But that being said, thank you for watching and stay scared. Bye.